So I'm going to explain how we professionally renovate these properties as well, with the investor in mind, okay? So we're not going to over-renovate the properties. We're going to use durable materials, okay? So I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. And then I'm going to talk to you about how we do our tenant screening, which is very important. A lot of risk lies in the management company that you're using and the tenants that we're putting in the homes. If we're not looking for highly qualified tenants, and I'm talking about tenants with no prior evictions, you know, tenants that truly do make at least 3 times the monthly rent to move in the property, tenants with no felonies, no history of violent crimes, anything like that, no sex offenders list, obviously. And then we also look for usually a letter from the tenant talking about themselves, their family, what they do for a living. I've found that by making them provide that letter, it gives us a lot more of an insight on the type of person that we're going to be placing in the home. And if you do that, and also pushing for 2-year leases, that's something that we've put into place as well, limits the turnover. We're an investment company first, so our goals are in line with our investors, all the way from the acquisition side of things, because I buy all my properties. They're all in American Real Estate Investments' name. So if I can't sell it, right, I don't buy bad investments, because if I can't sell it, I'm stuck holding the bag, okay? So I'm not gonna buy something that I don't wanna personally own myself. Then from there, on the renovation side of things, I back everything up with a 1-year warranty, okay? 90 days bumper to bumper, so anything that happens to the home after we place the tenant, we're gonna cover that for the first 90 days, bumper to bumper. After that, you'll have a scope of work that we did to the property. Any work that we did to the home is warranted for a year. Hot water tank goes out for whatever reason, roof leak, whatever it may be, we're gonna come to the table and fix that for you, because I want you to be sure and comfortable that you're buying a turnkey property when you invest with us. That's very important, right? You're trusting us. What if you live in California? What if you live in Michigan? What if you live in New York? And you're investing with a company in Dallas, you don't live here. So you need to trust that this company's got your back, okay? So that's why I implemented that warranty as well. And we also have a rent warranty. So we don't run into too many issues in Dallas to where we can't get properties leased, because the market is just amazing right now. So many people are moving here. 400 people a day move to Dallas-Fort Worth. And so the neighborhoods where we're buying, they're highly desirable, not only for renters, but for homeowners alike. So people want to live in these neighborhoods. If you drive through any one of my neighborhoods, I challenge you to find a for sale sign or a for lease sign. They're not there. And that's why I love Dallas more than anything, more than any other market that I've ever worked in, because its vacancies are literally, I think we're 98% occupied right now. So it's just very, very easy to keep these properties leased and keep them leased long term, okay? And so from there, you know, obviously my COO of property management sitting in the back, Scotty Mitchell, we, like I said, by keeping our goals in line with the investor, we don't want to buy bad properties that we don't want to manage either. Everything has to run through Scotty too. You know, I tried to push him one time. I said, hey man, this one's only going to rent for $1,100 because our cutoff is $1,200 in DFW. And he looked at it and he knows the areas really well. He's managed properties in DFW for 4 years. And he's like, John, I won't manage it. So doesn't that make you feel good that even if you invest with a company like mine, it's gotta get through a few different channels, okay? It's not just me, it's not just my acquisitions team. They have to confirm all the rents with Scotty. They have to confirm the areas. They have to confirm all that. Because Scotty won't manage a house for $1,100 rent that's in a bad neighborhood. I don't want my property managers to have to go into a neighborhood and carry a gun because they don't feel safe. You know, so that's why we perfected this A-class model here in Dallas-Fort Worth, okay, where we're strictly going after 1,200 rents and above. Our average rents currently are $1,500, $1,600. So these tenants make $50,000 to $60,000 a year, sometimes as high as $70,000, to be able to qualify to live in the homes. And the areas of Dallas that we're investing in, we're not investing in Plano, we're not investing in Frisco, we're not investing in those neighborhoods because that's where the 100K plus people live. That's where the property values are hitting 300 or more. The properties only rent for so much, okay? So for a rental model to work, you have to buy in the neighborhoods where the true middle class live. And right now, currently in Dallas, it's not gonna last for much longer. The middle class neighborhoods, I'm able to sell these properties to my investors at about an average of $170. And that property is gonna rent for $1,600 for you. So you're almost at that 1% rent to price point, right, that everybody's looking for. But in an A-class market, that's a little bit tougher to achieve. But we're close, okay, so where we're still able to get our investors positive returns. If I was to buy a property up in Frisco for $300K and sell it to you for whatever, $320, whatever it is, it's not gonna rent for much more than $2,500, okay? And the taxes up there are even higher than in the areas where I'm buying, because the tax assessed values up there are just way more. So that really kills your cash flow. And the one negative, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and talk about how Texas is, oh, it's awesome. There's nothing wrong with Texas. You know what the problem is with Texas and the problem with my investments? The property taxes, okay? If I didn't have the high property taxes, if I could buy 100 houses in this market, I could sell 100 houses a month, because the product is so good, the tenants that we're getting these properties are so good, the maintenance is so low, the vacancy is so low, but everybody wants to look at the spreadsheet, right, and say, oh, wow, John, well, it's a great investment, but man, the property taxes are $3,500 a year. Yeah, I mean, that's the one drawback, but I'm still getting positive returns. It might be a 6, it might be a 7, it might be as high as an 8. And then with my conventional lending options, I can get you that cash flow where you're getting $250, $300, maybe as high as $350 a month, to where now the leverage rate of return is over a 10, sometimes even as high as a 15. That's great for an A-class investment. People will jump on that all day long. It's just when I get below that 250 or creep into that 200, people are kind of like, I don't know if that's a very good investment. I still believe it is, because in this market here in Dallas, the properties have continued to appreciate. And I know everybody's gonna say, oh, well, there's not a crystal ball. You can't promise that you're gonna keep getting appreciation. 400 people a day move into the market, and the market is still affordable. We're at $240 per year right now, okay? $240,000 is the average price in DFW. Do you know what the average is in America? It's about $240, okay? And the neighborhoods that I'm buying in, where the true middle class live, the values, like I said, I'm selling you a turnkey property that's appraising all day long at 170, 180. You don't think those values are gonna creep up over 200? So now you get a loan, hold the property for a couple years, it appreciates, and I've seen it. Jay Ritter, house we sold 2 years ago that I bought back from an investor because he wanted to go buy an apartment building. We sold it to him for $150 around there, but it appraised for $144. Appraised for $144. We just sold it for, what was the price, Marcus? You sold it. $172, and it appraised at $175. That's actual, that's true numbers, okay? We're seeing 10% or more in the areas where we're buying, and we've been seeing it since 2012. It's the truth. The guys that bought from us in 2012 are sitting on, I don't even want to know how much money. Hundreds. There's a guy that bought 8 houses from us when we first got down in this market. My partner told me he's sitting on hundreds of $1,000s in equity right now. Now this market, the window is closing, I'm not gonna lie, because eventually you're gonna see the same thing that we've seen in Phoenix, the same thing that we've seen in Atlanta, the same thing that we've seen in all these other fast-growing, Denver, okay, where all the people are moving. Eventually the prices are gonna rise too high, and they're only gonna rent for so much, because these middle-class neighborhoods, you can't charge more than $2,000 a month for rent. The people don't make that much money, okay? So when the values keep going up and the rents eventually plateau and stop at a certain rate, and it's gonna be about 2,000, that's when you get priced out of the market. That's when you're not able to see the positive returns anymore. And so what are you gonna have to do? You're gonna have to lower your standard of where you wanna buy. And that's when you have to start dipping into the C-class investments, which I really promote to everybody. I'm a firm believer to avoid those investments. I just am. I have not seen them really work consistently. I haven't. I started off with Carl in Detroit. Coming out of the recession, we were able to buy properties for next to nothing. We were going in, we were renovating them, we were doing the best renovations you could do. They were beautiful. Tenant would go in and just trash it. I mean, plain and simple. You know, you'd see evictions. Evictions are more common. They don't have the stable income. They don't even have bank accounts, half of them. And a lot of them were on Section 8. And if you're having the government help you out with rent, you don't really give you don't give 2 craps about the house. You really don't. So they're beating up on the house. I mean, I had just horror stories. Carl can tell you the same thing. We'd go out to homes. Our property managers would go out to homes. I would go out there myself and film them sometimes. I didn't feel safe, but I had to go do it. I had to go get pictures, whatever it may, because we had buyers saying, hey, well, I want to see the inside of the house. So I get in there, and you just get into the property, and you'd have tenants complaining, I have roaches, I have rats. Well, you have 15 bags of garbage in your kitchen, okay? That's the kind of stuff that I quickly was like, nope, can't do it. I just can't do it. Evictions more common, vacancies more common. Typically in C-class neighborhoods, you're not going to have a bunch of people clamoring to go live there, okay? So you're going to see vacancy. And depending on what market it is, You know, if you want to, I always compare Detroit or like an Indianapolis because I've invested there. It gets cold. There's not 400 people moving to Detroit or Indianapolis a day. So a property goes vacant, it could sit vacant for 3, 4, 5 months, okay? Not only that, but if you have to evict somebody, they stop paying rent, you can't evict them in the winter. You can't. A lot of states, like, they will not let you evict these tenants in the winter. It's cold, they're not gonna let you kick them out on the streets. So now you can see up to 6 months, you're not getting any cash flow, you have somebody living in your house. How angry is that gonna make you? I don't do that stuff anymore. So I do B-class investments up in Kansas City and St. Louis still. That's where we were headquartered. We still have a great presence there. Okay, I've perfected a system there as well where we can do 1,000 to 1,300 rents that still mitigate risk. Okay, down here though, and Scotty can tell you, sitting in the back, no evictions, low turnover, properties that actually work. You look on the spreadsheet, 6% is just not going to do it. I'll tell you what, it will. If you are getting the 6% every month, you'll be happy because you go through these more risky investments that on paper looks like, hey, this is a higher return. It really is not. I promise you, I've seen it a million times. We've done thousands of homes. And I've done thousands of homes in many different markets across America and many different asset classes. And that's why myself, I will not do C-class investments. So from there, I guess I would go into a little bit more with the management. So in Texas, because they're so easy to manage, I only charge 8% in Texas. Okay, in Missouri, I still charge 10%. It's a little bit more cumbersome on my team to have to manage those type of homes. So 8% in Texas, that's very, very competitive. Okay. We also have, along with our property management company, something that I've put into place. It's called an investor concierge. Okay, because I've found with investments and these type of investments and guys that are looking to invest in turnkey properties because they live in California or they live in a market where they can't get investments that positively cash flow in decent neighborhoods. So they come to guys like me and they're like, John, you know, I'm busy, I have a family, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, whatever it may be, I'm busy. I want to invest in real estate, but I can't do it on my own. I don't have the knowledge or I don't have the time. Or my market, my own backyard doesn't work for what I'm trying to do. I've seen Dallas, I've seen the population growth, I've seen all the businesses going there like crazy. Toyota's opening their headquarters this month. They brought 4,000 jobs with them, and they're hiring another 1,000 people in the market. Think about how many service jobs just spawned from that as well. Dry cleaners, electricians, plumbers, restaurants, stores, everything. I mean, it's crazy. This is what we've been seeing down here, and other people are taking notice, so they want a piece of the action. And so not only we have 400 people moving here a day, we have a ton of investors trying to buy here too, where it's made it, that's why property prices keep increasing. Supply and demand. There's just so much demand down here. Now we're lucky that we have cash at our disposal. And we're lucky that we've been buying down here since 2012. Because we now can get our hands on opportunities that everyday people just can't get their hands on. The MLS, if you're looking for deals on the MLS, you're wasting your time. They're already too overpriced. It's not gonna happen, not in this market. I stopped being able to buy on the MLS about 2 years ago. Short sales used to be a great thing we used to be able to get. How many short sales are there nowadays? Philip, you own a title company? Yeah, you can't get short sales anymore. We have a healthy real estate market again. Banks are loaning money again, okay? So really, if you look at the entire US, all markets are hot. I have agent friends in Detroit that say, I can't find houses for my buyers. In all the good neighborhoods we want to invest in, I can't find houses. It's because the market's healthy really everywhere right now, okay? Dallas just happens to be one of the fastest growing markets because of all the job growth, right? All the jobs are coming here. So it's even harder to get opportunities. So I firmly believe you get an asset from me that rents for $1,200 a month or more in DFW, it's gold. It's a little piece of gold. I have people tell me every day, can you sell it to me, vacant, unrenovated? No. Why would I do that? Do you know how much I have to fight and scratch and crawl to get these investments? I have my acquisitions guys out right now driving 40, 50, 60 properties for the auction next Tuesday, and maybe 10 of them will show up. But they're out there looking at the asset for you to make sure there's no foundation problems, make sure we're not bidding on a house that needs a roof, make sure that we're not bidding on a property that's going to have some sort of, huge cost on the renovation side, to make sure when we go and bid on it, we're not losing. So just one right there, I mean, the work that we put into the acquisition side to even get these homes for you is worth its weight in gold. I promise you. So then we go to the auction. There's 10 of them there. Everybody wants them. Everybody wants those 10. Okay? And we might walk away on a good month. We get 4 or 5. Sometimes we get 1. Sometimes we get none.
They won't let you look at the property in auctions until the auction is complete.
You have to go and drive them, yeah. And a lot of times they're occupied. Yeah, not the inside. Yeah, you don't know what's going to be on the inside either. And a lot of times, you know, we have old tenants in the property, or actually the old homeowner in the property that lost the home, and we got to evict them. So we didn't even get to see the inside. We have no idea what the inside looks like. But we've done so many homes down here that we know, hey, based on year built, based on square footage, based on rooms, we have a pretty good idea what the bid is. Okay? We have a lot of intellectual data when it comes to that. So, yeah, so basically we're lucky to get 4 or 5 at the auction. That's a great month for us. Then we still work with wholesalers. Wholesalers will send us good deals, you know, because they know we're cash buyers and they know that we buy consistently. So here, if we want to, now we got this thing going. Okay, let's move ahead a little bit. Let's just go to how do we get properties in hot markets. Want to see some deals? Want to see some deals? All right, just so acquisitions, you know, really quickly, can make or break your investment. The rule of you get what you pay for really applies here. It does. I mean, if it's too easy and too cheap to acquire property in a particular market or area, think twice about the investment. You may already be setting yourself up for failure. You always got to think about what type of tenant is this property going to attract? What type of tenant is this area going to attract? An $800 rent in Detroit, in Vegas, in Kansas City, in Dallas, in Houston, it's the same type of area and you're going to get the same type of tenant. It cracks me up when someone comes to me and says, oh no, Birmingham, Alabama, 800 rents? No, you're in a great neighborhood. Or you're going to get a great tenant. No, you're not. No, you're not. I don't care. I won't invest in 800 rents in Dallas because I used to invest in 800 rents in Detroit, and they didn't work. And my investors they failed. They failed. That's where we went there. Now, also, as investors, I'm sure you have some sort of assumption formula that you use when you're analyzing properties, correct? Something that you're looking for, maintenance, vacancy, things of that nature. When you're underwriting properties, you need to take into consideration different markets and different property classes. There's A-class properties, there's B-class properties, there's C-class properties, there's D-class properties, okay? The stuff that we were doing in Detroit was D-class stuff. Stuff we do in Dallas is A-class stuff. Do you think Detroit has 400 people moving to it a day? No. So are you going to underwrite your property for the same amount of vacancy if you're analyzing a property in Detroit that you would for Dallas? I hope not, because if you are, you'll never buy a property in Dallas because you'll talk yourself out of every deal. You just will. Okay? Same thing goes for maintenance. Are you going to underwrite a house that was built in 2005 for maintenance the same that you would for a property in St. Louis or Kansas City that was built in 1950? Once again, I hope not. Because you have a newer built home that's only 10, 12 years old, right? As opposed to a house that's 60, 70 years old. That house that's 60, 70 years old, no matter how great you renovate it, it's gonna run into some problems. It's just an older home. So with A-class properties, typically we're telling, you know, I use very low assumptions for A-class properties, very low. I mean, 5%. You know, the conservative investor, I would say, hey, don't do no more than 8 or 10. You're gonna talk yourself out of the deal. For C-class stuff, I'm at 25%. And we used to underwrite properties at 25% when we were in our C-class markets, and they were higher than that in actuality. 25%, I was being generous, okay? There's an example of a C-class property, $60,000 purchase price, rent them out $800. On paper, you're like, woo, this is a great investment, wow. I'm getting 20% return on my money. Holy crap, if I leverage this property, and hopefully it'll appraise, but if I leverage this property, I'm making 30, 40% returns. It's just not actual. It's not actual. I've seen it time and time again. The type of tenant that's going to live in this property is going to be high risk, and there's going to be very little reward there. Sure, maybe 1 year you might get a good one, 2 years you might get a good one, it might be okay, but just based on the areas that you're buying in, tenant leaves, you get your contractors in there to renovate it, it's vacant, people are going to break in, they're going to steal stuff. How much, remember when copper was selling at a high price, Carl? Remember that? Remember those days? We used to have to put the VPS on all the doors and windows because they'd go in and steal the copper and rip all the drywall out. That doesn't happen in A-class markets, doesn't. You know, in Texas, there's no basement, so we put the hot water tank, you know, in the garage. I remember we were on an investor tour, and we were replacing the garage door on one of the properties down in Houston, and the investor said, "Oh, why did you just left that like that?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm in a good neighborhood. This guy owns his house. This guy owns his house. You don't think they're looking out to see if there's any thefts out here? Yeah, I could replace the garage door and leave the hot water tank. Someone go try and take it." It just doesn't happen, which is why I like to invest in these type of markets and these type of properties. So let's look at a B-class property. This is some stuff I'll do. Purchase price 120, rent them out about 1,200. Typically with a B-class property, you're going to be right in line with that 1% rent to price point ratio. So this type of property I would work with. You're still going to find a little bit of risk because that person is qualifying to live in a home that rents for 1,200, but it's going to be in a little bit better neighborhood, a little bit less risk. Tenant's going to have a little bit better paying job. You'll find that your risk is really lowered here. Now, that's in St. Louis. You're still going to be purchasing a property that's not experiencing the population growth that we are in Texas. So I would, you know, account a little bit more for vacancies, and a little bit more for maintenance, because that home, I think it was built in like 1970. It's just a little bit older of a property, okay? So factor in a little bit more for vacancies because you're not seeing that type of growth. If it goes vacant in November or December, it's around the holidays, it's winter, you know, it might be a little bit tougher to attract the tenant at that point, okay? So then next, this would be your A-class investment. This is actually a home that we produced out in Fort Worth. We sold it for $160, it rented for $1,500 or $1,550, I think. This property here, it's a newer built home. You know, I think this one was built in like 2007, 2008, something like that. The guy that bought the property from us last year, I spoke to him the other day, did his year review, he's ecstatic. He had no maintenance, tenant paid on time every day, doesn't have to hear from his property manager. He hears from his investor concierge every month, and we love making those calls. You know, Dana calls you, "Hey, how's everything going with the investment? I seen your statement. Looks like you got all your rent, just minus management fee." "Yep, thanks for touching base, Dana. Running really good." Now, this is a property that a gentleman bought from me, where on the spreadsheet, it probably said about a 7.5% return. He used the conventional financing to purchase it, so I think he might have got somewhere about a 12 to 13% return for this property. He actually seen it. And when we go to renew that home, I'll renew it at $50 a month more. He'll renew at probably $1,550 or $1,600, whatever it was at, I can't really remember. But we're getting $50 increases from year to year in this market. We have been. Scotty? Sometimes more. Okay? So not only am I in a market because of supply and demand, let's just go back to 5th grade, 6th grade economics. A lot of demand, low supply. What are you going to be able to do? Raise prices, raise rents. Okay, that's why we're down here. St. Louis, I don't really escalate rents in St. Louis. 1,300 rent's a 1,300 rent. It's going to be a 1,300 rent for, you know, a couple years, 2-3 years. Maybe I can run it up to 1,325, maybe. You know, that's not really a market. We're not designed. It's a B market. It's not designed to appreciate really for you. It's not designed to do rent appreciation and things like that. So also the guys that bought from us in 2012, those properties that we were buying in Lancaster, Cedar Hill, Duncanville, DeSoto, these areas in the south, Mesquite, how much were those properties renting? Ritter's been at the company longer than I have even. How much were those renting before?
About that time we were buying 1,000, 1,100 rents.
1,000 to 1,100.
Now they're probably up to 1,550, 1,500.
Yeah. Almost $100 a year it's gone up. So not only did the property appreciate for you, but the rents have appreciated. So you're making an extra $1,200 a year based on that first initial investment. I applaud those people that actually took a leap of faith and invested with us down in Dallas. They were smart investors because they are sitting on a great investment right now. And the only reason we've even been able to stay in this Dallas market for as long as we've had, you'll hear people, "Oh, Dallas is overpriced. Oh, Dallas is just ran too high. Dallas is this, Dallas." Compared to what? What's it ran too high to? The median home price down here is $240. You know where all my investors come from? California, where the median home price is $1 million in most areas they're buying in. So we're priced too high here? I laugh at that. That's hilarious. These properties are going to continue to appreciate. I'm telling you, we're still only at 170 in the areas that we're buying at, 180 on the high end, okay? So where I'm going with this is pretty much the time, it's running out though, I will say, because like I said, they're only going to rent for so much. So I say we have a couple years left here where you're going to be able to see some positive returns for A-class inventory. We can dip down and buy some Bs and things like that and some lower grade stuff, but they're not going to be in the best neighborhoods. You know, we just did an investor tour last weekend, and everybody, these were people from all around the country, or actually around the world. I had a gentleman there from Hong Kong, and they felt safe. They felt like, wow, these neighborhoods are nice. These are great. Everybody was happy. They all bought. They all invested. Why wouldn't they? Okay, it's just too hard to get the inventory down here. It's just too hard. Next slide. Next slide. So acquisitions, how do we get the properties in hot markets? Relationships. Business is business. You got to build relationships with people. Stay in touch with people. Attend real estate events and networking events. Nurture existing network of contacts. Send referrals to some of these wholesalers and these agents that you work with that get you off-market properties. Send tokens of appreciation. I know what their birthdays are. Around Christmas, they all get a box of cookies. You know, I like to just stay in their mind. Be consistent. We're consistent buyers. We buy homes every month. I'll tell you what, Marcus is one of my senior investment coordinators. He's been with me the longest. His consistent guys, we have a waiting list now, so we're fair. Depending on where you're at on the list is where you're going to get the property. But Marcus, I know in the past, his investors that buy consistently from him usually would get the deals first. He'd send them to them first because they're proven buyers. They've already bought. He knows if it's in their wheelhouse, if it's in a neighborhood that they like, if it hits their return, they're going to put a contract in. So that's another way that we get a lot of properties on our acquisition side. Cash, if you have cash, cash is king. People want to deal with cash, right? We like dealing with cash buyers. I don't mind doing conventional finance though. We buy good properties. I'm not worried about them appraising and things like that. But also with us on the acquisition side, you're buying distressed properties. You can't usually use finance. You can't use conventional finance to buy a property. It's got to be in livable condition to purchase it. We have credit lines that we use where we don't have to pull a survey and we don't have to do an appraisal and things like that, so we can draw from that. But that's pretty much like using cash. But yeah, that's how we get these good opportunities too. If the wholesaler, the agent, the bank, whatever it may be, they know you're a cash buyer, they'll send it to you first. Okay? Be prepared. We love investors that are ready to take action. Okay? This is just like buying your own home. I don't know where some people's minds go where they're buying an investment property and they think that they have time to think about it or, whatever it may be, or wait, let me do my due diligence right now and then I'll get back to you. If you're looking in a particular neighborhood with your family to live, okay, and you see the line out the door of people looking at the same house that you are you making an offer? Are you putting a deposit in? Or are you going to go back and go, honey, let's go have dinner and talk about this? There's already an offer in place, okay? And it's probably already been accepted. When I was a regular retail agent, I was looking around with my family, my friends, just regular business, just regular people that came into our office. I was like, look, you want to get this house? Not only are we putting an offer in, but we're putting $10K in above to try and get it. It's like that all over America right now. But what I'm saying is it's the same thing with an investment property. We take an EMD, it's refundable. Just give me an EMD and give me a contract, and then let's look at the scope of work. Like I already said, we don't buy bad investments anyway, but let's look at the scope of work, let's do the due diligence, let's talk about it. The EMD is transferable, it's refundable. Just give me something so we can stop marketing the property. Marcus is one of my investment coordinators. I have 4 more. You don't think the other 4 guys are showing the same properties, trying to sell the same properties? So while you're thinking about it, that deal's gone, okay? Next, renovations. So there's obviously, like I talked about, there's a careful balance on the renovation side of things, and I feel like we've really perfected this. You don't want to over-renovate a rental property because if you do, the tenant moves out, and if, let's say, they break something or whatever it may be, it's going to be costly to replace. Okay, so let's go down to the next one. So here's some of the stuff that we use. Vinyl plank flooring, right? We're not putting in real wood flooring. They scratch it, they scuff it, they damage it. You got to resurface the whole thing. These vinyl planks, they last 12 years. They look like wood, they feel like wood, they're scratch resistant. Tenant ruins one, we pluck it up, we put another one down, right?
Can I make a statement about this too?
Sure.
Actually, since all the apartment complexes have started using this vinyl plank, it's affected appraisal less and less.
Yeah.
Compared to hardwood floor, we used to get, knocked off
Yep.
$1,000 now. It's kind of
We're getting up, yeah, they are. Oil-based paint on the cabinetry. A lot of times we're buying newer built homes down here. We don't have to replace the cabinets. We just got to spruce them up, make them look modern, make them look nice. We just put this oil-based paint over there. You can wipe it. It wipes clean, looks nice, looks modern, looks new. Walls with neutral tones. We're not putting in funky colors. You know, this is what people are looking for. Their furniture is going to match what the walls look like, right? We put a knockdown texture on the walls. So you're hanging pictures, you're hanging TVs. We can go in. We can quickly just fill those holes in, repaint over it. Looks good, right? Frisé carpet with flecks of color. We put that in the house. We only put the carpet really in the bedrooms. In the high traffic areas, hallways, common areas, it's vinyl plank. Right? You want that stuff to withstand turnovers. You put carpet in all the houses. We used to do that. I learn every day. I'm not saying I'm an expert right now. I learn every day what to do, what not to do. I'm always learning. Used to put carpet all throughout the house. It was easy to lay down, right? Not anymore. I quickly learned. Stop doing that, guys. I changed the whole thing up. Put the carpet in the rooms. The tenants like the carpet in the rooms. Put vinyl and everything else. It lasts longer. That's why our turnover is, Scotty, what's our average turn? Yeah. And how much is our security deposit? Yep. That's nothing on a turnover. I've seen way worse than that. Then here, we do an epoxy coating on the countertops. So it makes it look really nice. It's got some fleck in there. It kind of looks like granite. It's not granite, but it's durable, and it looks nice. It looks nicer than just a flat white top. Okay? Like, so you go into rent a house, you know, there's just white Formica in there. It kind of looks like, oh, it's not that cool. It's not that appealing. It doesn't look that good. Without putting granite in, this still makes it look nicer. So let's go to the next one. So here's an example of one of our living rooms. New fixtures. We switch out all the outlet and light switch covers. Everything's white, new, shiny. Oil-based paint on the trim. Wipes clean. Easy to clean. There's the vinyl plank. Looks like hardwood. It's not. And it's very cheap to replace. Okay? Sure. What paint do we use? Eggshell? Yep. Thanks, Carl. Carl used to handle a lot of the, make sure the guys were doing their jobs on the construction end of things. And then, but that looks very nice, right? New blinds, all that. Next. Now here's the kitchen that I'm telling you about. So here's the epoxy coating here. This looks nicer than just a white, plain Formica top, but it's cheap. The tenant damages it, puts a hot pot on it, whatever. We can go in there, just epoxy right over it. It's really easy to replace, really, really nice. Also makes it a little bit more durable. Doesn't chip, things like that. And then there's the oil-based paint on the actual cupboards. And then new appliances. We put new appliances in the house. Put new stoves, new microwaves if there's room for a overhead microwave, range microwave. We replace all that. New dishwashers. You don't have to bring the fridge in Texas, which is good, okay? Because in other markets, in St. Louis and stuff, we have to supply the fridge as well. That's just one more thing you got to fix as a landlord, okay? So in Texas, the tenant brings the fridge. That's a good part. Next. Same thing. Here's an example of one of the bathrooms. Same thing. We're oil-based paint there. We're doing oil rub bronze faucets, handles, door handles, and yeah, there you see the towel rack there. Everything's new. Everything looks clean. This looks really nice to a tenant. This is why we're able to lease our properties. Boom, 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 like that. Okay? Tenant screening, we pretty much discussed this. We covered this. Income verification, background check, all that sort of stuff. Now here's the security deposit. This is important. Let's go there. Security deposits. We're getting a lot. I'm telling you, I get tenants that have 700 scores and above. And a lot of my owners will be like, why don't they just buy a house? Well, they just moved here. They just moved to Dallas. They don't know the area very good yet, so they want to rent first. They want to feel out the market, okay? So I get a 650 score or above. I'm only charging 1 month deposit. Average rents are about $1,500. You're starting off with $1,500. That should make you feel pretty comfortable, right? $599 and below, a month and a half. Most of our deposits we collect are a month and a half. Very rarely are we only taking 1 month, but they got to have that good score, like I said. And then at $550, that's our cutoff. We won't take anything under $550. At $550, it's a double deposit. How many double deposits do we get, Scotty? I get a lot of them. If there's even something shaky on the application, like I said, back to we have the same goals in mind as our investors. When you're working with a turnkey provider that acquires all the way to management, we manage it for you, where all of our goals are in line. We want to see success. We're an investment company first. We're not a property management company. Okay, so we want to make sure we're putting good, qualified tenants in your property. We don't want to do turnovers. We don't want to do evictions. It makes us look bad as investors. Okay? All of our goals are in line. Next. Management. So here's some factors to consider when you're looking for a good property manager. We hit all these phases. Knowledge of the industry, you're going to want to know what their knowledge is. Proper infrastructure to support the portfolio size. You don't want to work with somebody. Carl and I have been to management companies in C-class neighborhoods. They're still writing stuff on paper. They don't have Appfolio. They don't have Propertyware. They don't have any. They're not running on any sort of system. It was like back in the Stone Age. Avoid those people. I'm telling you right now. Communication. How quickly do you expect to get a response? With us, no matter what it is, because I have investor concierge here, you're going to get a response in 20 minutes. Whether it's, hey, here's the fix, here's the problem, here's our solution, or hey, I don't have a solution yet. Okay? So I'm still going to get back to you in 20 minutes and say, hey, we don't have a solution, but I'm going to get back to you by tomorrow with a solution. That is their job. We want our investors to feel comfortable with us. We don't want you to feel like, oh, I bought a house in Dallas and I live in New York and I don't know what's going on. And I have 15 numbers and 15 emails of people I'm trying to get an answer. No, we simplify it. One person. So no matter if you invest with us in Kansas City, St. Louis, Dallas, Houston, or all 4 of them, that investor concierge, Dana, is going to know what's going on with all of your homes. That should make you feel pretty good, right? That's full turnkey in my opinion. Turnkey, in my opinion, for real estate investing, you shouldn't have to worry about anything. You should be in the know on what's going on with your asset, and you should have one direct point of contact. It shouldn't be a company that did the renovation. This guy did the renovation. This guy did the acquisition. This guy's managing it. No. It's the same company all the way around, okay? Is that what you expect? I hope that's what you expect. That's what the big leaders in the turnkey industry do. That's what Memphis Invest does. That's what we do, okay? And I consider us in Memphis Invest, we're the biggest companies in America that do this. I don't know, there's other guys out here that do, a C-class mom and pop shop pops up in Indianapolis or, Oklahoma or Birmingham, Alabama. They don't have these processes in place. They're not true turnkey. Why? Because they bought the house for you and renovated it for you, and then either they're trying to manage it themselves or they pass it off to some third-party company. You're going to get lost in the shuffle, I promise you. Okay? Next. So knowledge of the industry, what types of properties you manage, do you represent a specific class of property, do you have a rent minimum, and what's your experience? Those are some questions I'd be asking the manager. Proper infrastructure to support portfolio size. I think, and Scotty knows this, Scotty used to work for one of the largest property management companies in the nation. It was about 250 properties per manager. If you see a guy, you say, hey, how many properties do you have? Oh, we're managing 1,000. How many PMs do you have? 2. No, avoid them. Because they can't keep up, okay? There's no way one person can manage 500 houses on their own. I don't care how great they say they are. Communication. What is your rule for getting back to me? Any good property manager, it should be 24 hours to get back to you with an answer. Anything more than that, it's like, that's not right. Why am I paying you my management fee then? When we talk to people to move their properties over to us, this right here, I ask, how's your communication been? Oh, I can't get an answer about anything. I see maintenance on my statement every month. They can't back it up with a bill. They can't even tell me what they did. And I say, well, we do that, and we get back with you in 24 hours, and we only charge 8%. Do you want to talk to Scotty about moving over? Heck yeah. And I get him every time. Scotty ropes him every time because we have the client's best interest at heart, and our goals are in line with you. I don't want maintenance costs on your statement every month. Property management companies are usually cash cow businesses. They're going to try and charge you for everything. They're going to upcharge maintenance. They're going to upcharge any little thing that they can. If you're dealing with a company that doesn't have the same goals in mind as you, you're going to be charged every month. That's how they make money. You know how I make money? By getting you to invest with me again and telling your family, telling your friends. That's how I make money. And what are you going to do that unless you're seeing positive returns? And you're seeing success, right? Successful investments. Exactly. Next. Fee structure. Obviously, fees are important. But you get what you pay for, too, with a management company. Okay, so we only charge 8% in Texas. That's great. You might look at that like, that's awesome. You get so much for 8%. Avoid the guys that are charging less than that or charging less on the leasing fee or charging less like this because you're going to get what you pay for. And a lot of times guys might discount fees because they're not that good and they're just trying to get your business and they're doing it by just discounting. We're 10% in Missouri, we're 8% in Texas. We charge a 1-month leasing fee. Guess what? That's standard. We put your property on the MLS, we put your property on all advertising avenues so we can get the most applications in and get the best tenant. To me, that's worth the 1-month leasing fee. I have properties in Michigan, I have properties in St. Louis, Kansas City. I pay the leasing fee too. I want my property on the MLS. I want other agents going out and showing my home. I want the best qualified tenant. That's number one. Then technology, like I said, don't be working with a company that's going off paper or doesn't have an online portal for you to go to. They don't have an online portal for your tenants to go pay rent. They don't have an online portal for you to go track your statements. Avoid that. They're not running on some sort of software and you don't have an online portal, just don't even deal with them. Then the investor concierge. What do they do for you? Okay? Not only do you have a property manager, someone in the field for you, but you have someone in my office, and where do you sit? Right next to me, right? Something pops up, who do you go to? That's right. Because I care about my investors. I care about getting problems solved quickly, efficiently. So they sit right by me. Something pops up, it's on my radar. Get it fixed. Okay? What do? Weekly updates on any vacant properties. Your property's vacant, you're in New York, you're like, oh geez, property's vacant, not getting any money, you're probably freaking out, right? I would want a weekly update on where we're at with leasing the property, how many applications we got, right? That's what you're gonna get with me. Monthly checkups to make sure the rent disbursements were received. Hey, Carol, it's Dana from American Real Estate Investments. Did you get your rent? Yes, I did. Did you get the entire balance? Yep, all I'm seeing here is just the management fee. Woo, bam. Great investment, but we're gonna check and make sure that you got it. Because sometimes we sell a property to a new investor, banking information's messed up, something's going on, they didn't get their rent. We want to follow up every month. Make sure you get the rent, right? Monthly reviews of property management statements. Hey, this looked weird to me, Dana. It didn't make sense. What is this? Well, we're going to explain it for you. You know, you're not going to be in the dark. If there's a fee, a maintenance fee, I'm going to back it up with a bill. I'm going to tell you what happened. You know, if we have a $300 threshold. If it's something below $300, we're just going to go out and fix it. I'm going to show you a bill of what we did. But if it's an easy little fix, we got to just go out and just take care of it for the tenant. We can't wait on approval. We want them to stay in the homes. We don't want them to move. We want them to have a good management experience. The reason why tenants move, guys, it's because the management company stinks and they don't want to deal with them. That's why they move. They get problems solved quickly and efficiently, they stay. They'll renew, okay? With an increase, yes. Thanks, Scotty. Communication with property management team in case issues arise. So, you know, there's a lot of times your property manager can be in the field, you have a question or concern, you can't get a hold of your property manager right now, he's busy, he's doing something, hey, we need to be in the field, we need to be making sure your properties are performing, looking good, there's no issues. You got your investor concierge. He'll answer Dana's call, okay? Scheduling executive calls after close with me, myself. So after your first 30 days, of owning the property, I'm going to call you personally. I'm going to ask what your experience was with my team, how we can get better, you know, and just be there for you because you also have my contact information as well. So if you can't get in touch with Dana, which I hope that doesn't happen, Dana, or you can't get in touch with somebody, call me then. I'll give you my personal cell phone. I'll give you my email. I'll give you my office line. Call me, okay? And then we schedule a 90-day review call with your investment coordinator. So it was Marcus, Grant, Sarah, Neil, Johnny. They're there for you too. They'll call you every 90 days. How's the investment going? Can we do anything better? What are your goals moving forward? Because we all know, if you're building a rental portfolio and you're trying to really earn passive income, you gotta buy one, you buy two. Our goal is to get you to 20. At 20, you start seeing some real passive income. And then if we're putting you in good markets with a healthy real estate market like this, you're going to have some appreciation too. Oh, well, John, I don't plan on selling. I plan on holding them. Really? You only have 10 conventional loans to your name, and then maybe you can use your spouse's name. We get you up to 20, but maybe you want to free one up and you want to refinance it, sell it, right? Get some equity, buy another property with it, right? That's our goal here. That's what we're trying to do. So that's pretty much it. Q&A, I know I talked for a long time. I covered a lot of the stuff before we could get the PowerPoint up, but I'm here for any questions. Yes?
So is this under contract to you? I mean, is there a contract between, of course there is for you being the management?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
is there a fee to break?
To sell it, or the property management agreement?
No, if you just had to sell the property.
Yeah.
You didn't want to rent it anymore, is there like a fee involved?
Only if you sell the property to the tenant that we placed.
Or if you're in the first 12 months of the term before it goes over to a month-to-month contract, at that point there would be an early termination.
And what is that?
It's 3 months management.
3 months of the management fee. Okay, fair? Yeah, you're month to month. Yeah. Yeah. Now the property management agreement, month to month, after first year.
Yeah, it automatically goes month-to-month at that point. And we don't require another 12-month lock-in at that point.
Scotty, why don't you come up here? I feel like there's going to be a lot of management questions here. Come on up. Scotty Mitchell, everybody. American Real PM, COO. Thanks. Yeah. Here, any property management questions, let's go ahead and direct them to him right now.
How's it going, guys? What's up? That question depends on if it's under rehab or if it's an actual regular turnover. On regular turnover, our leases require a 45-day notice to vacate, so we start marketing it 45 days before the tenant actually vacates. And we market it for a 10-day window approximately for any turnover work. So typically what we're seeing on normal turns is a 10 to 14-day window where it's actually vacant. After rehab, it really depends on how ready it is to show and when it's ready for that showing. Yeah, approximately. Yeah.
Do you bill the investor for the repair rehab expenses?
Yeah, well, again, it's going to depend. What we do is there's a 30-day window for, excuse me, there's a 30-day window for security deposit accounting within Texas law, right? So usually we can get that done in approximately 21 days. But if we have to pay for the rehab before that 21 days is up, then it's all going to go to the investor's ledger first and then come out, whatever comes out of the security deposit will come out of the security deposit. If the payments for that work comes after the security deposit accounting, it would go that way. But yeah, it would first come out of the investor's ledger.
Even if it's more than the deposit, then he has to fund that.
Correct. My company does single family homes. That's our specialty. Yep. Yes, that's what we do.
Well, I think was his question about if a renter does damage?
His question was, where does the money come out? And so I kind of tried to cover both. At first, it's going to come out of the owner's ledger, and if it's more than the deposit's going to be, I'm going to ask for funding at that point. But once the security deposit accounting is done, then the owner would be funded back from that security deposit.
Well, I kind of had a question about when you first purchased a house, when your company purchased the house, and you were talking about the renovations that are done, do you just automatically do those renovations before you even put it out for someone to purchase, to rent?
Yeah, great question. So this is how the process normally works, and this is pretty much across every one of our markets, but especially in Dallas. When we get a property under contract and we purchase the home and American Real Estate Investments owns the home, our general in that market goes out and confirms the bid that was in the when we did the initial underwriting. Okay, they confirm the bid, they perform the scope of work. Then at that point, we know what the all-in turnkey cost is going to be. At that point, the investment coordinators are already sharing this information with the buyers. Okay. So you're going to see, okay, turnkey, the property is going to be $160. It's going to rent for $1,450, $1,500. Property taxes are this, all that. We'll give you an exterior photo of the home and the before photos. We just lock it up under contract, okay, take a deposit. It's held at Community National Title, right? We get the contract in place. We don't transfer ownership to you until you've seen the scope of work, you've seen the before photos, you see the after photos, you see it's completed, it's passed the third-party inspection, and it's ready for rent, okay? At that point, we transfer ownership to you. Most of the time in Dallas, because it's such a hot market, we already have a tenant in place or a lease in place, and we know when they're moving in. If not, there's a 45-day grace period from the time we close to market the home. On the 46th day, if we don't have a tenant, we'll pay your rent. Yep, the renovation cost is included. Yeah. And we do the same renovations to every property. It's all standard. Same materials. If it doesn't have 10 years left of useful life on big fix items, roofs, HVACs, right, things like that, we're replacing it. Okay, because we don't want you to run into any high cost fixes early on in ownership. And like I said, we back it for 1 year, but if I don't replace all this stuff for you guys on the front end, in year 2, year 3, year 4, you're out of your golden parachute and it breaks, that's not good, right? So we got to make sure that we're performing a durable renovation to the property, okay, with you in mind. All right?
So the investor needs to acquire the mortgage when you sell it to us?
Yes. Yep. And I have 2 preferred lenders that I work with here in Dallas, Supreme Lending and Highlands Mortgage. It's a Fannie Mae loan, 30 years, 20% down. Interest rates are about 5 right now. Standard loan. This is the way it works. Give me the EMD and the contract. I don't even care if you're pre-approved yet. I'll get you pre-approved in a day. I'm going to hand you off to my lender, work with him. He's going to get you pre-approved. And I'll tell you what, most people say about 45 days to close on the property, right, because of this tread stuff that was put in. Highlands is closing faster than that. Supreme's closing faster than that.
Supreme will require a renter in place.
No, they won't. Not with me.
They will require.
Supreme Lending? No. It's a conventional loan. It's not a non-recourse loan. Usually when you're working with a non-recourse lender,
And it's based upon your financial.
yes. And they know that we rent warranty them after 45 days. So even if there wasn't a tenant for, I mean, it doesn't happen in Dallas, but it just in case it did, we pay your rent then, right? Any other questions? So can we get a, oh, I'm sorry.
If you got a tenant, they move out, they then damage, how do you guys handle that as far as collecting or running collections against that renter?
Good question. We actually do 60 to 90 days of trying to collect on our own, at which point we would take it out to a rent collection agency. Right now we're using Rent Debt. If in that 60 to 90 days we can get them to communicate at all, we're obviously going to try to do a payment plan or something like that, because collections take a bunch of money out when they do collect, if they do collect, right? And that could be 2, 3, 4 years from now. You never know. So if we can get communication with the exiting tenant on the damage and work out some kind of payment plan, we're going to do that first.
How high of a percentage are you guys able to accomplish that?
As far as, we don't have a high percentage of damages going over security deposits because of the system that we use where we take double deposits if there's any kind of red flags. So I don't see that very often going over the security deposit coming out of the owner's pocket. Because I mean, if you think about it, a $1,600 rent, you know, our average is around $1,500 to $1,600. On a double deposit, we're taking $3,200. Tenant has to do a whole lot to get over $3,200.
Do you periodically inspect the property?
Yeah, best practice is to try to get out at least every 6 to 7 months. In those get out every 6 to 7 months, a lot of times I'm not going to disturb the tenant there. I'm going to do drive-bys of the properties. And a lot of times I'm going to do that actually more than shorter than 6 or 7 month periods. And if the outside of the property is being really well taken care of, the lawn's well manicured, the bushes are all cut, typically that means they're taking care of the inside of the property. If I notice that the lawn is not well manicured, the bushes are kind of overgrown, whatever, at that point I'm going to schedule to get in with the tenant.
That's the first sign that there could be dirty people just not taking care of them.
Yeah, and at that point I'm going to get in. As well, I've got relationships with my vendors, specifically with my handymen, that any time that they go out to the property, they understand that if they see something undue, they're going to report that back to me. If they see water damage that might not have been reported, if they see a dog, but on the work order it doesn't say pets, because our work orders go out with how many pets or how many kids they should expect, right? So I have communicated with multiple of my vendors that I've been working with for years and years and years, that if they see anything at all, they're going to report that back to me. And even if it's something that I'm like, yeah, I know, it's better that they report it back than not. So.
Yeah, good thing too, a lot of our guys that work on the homes, our crews have been working with us since the beginning too. They're all in-house. They'll do a lot of our maintenance as well for us. You know, if it's something a little bit over like a handyman type of repair, we'll send our guys out in-house to do the work. So,
In-house?
yes. Yep.
So on top of that, and this is something that he didn't really bring in, one of the benefits of having us be sister companies and be in the same wheelhouse is that typically on just about any kind of maintenance issue whatsoever, they're going to see it before you, because I'm going to check whether it's warranty before I send it out to Dana or Madison in our concierge department to release it out to our owners.
Do you guys have any type of a program for air filters?
We don't have a program right now. We do communicate to our tenants actively at lease signing at the time that they're coming in on what our expectations are for air filters.
I was actually renting a place out, and I never changed it.
Yeah, he came to me. He was like, "They're trying to charge me for air filter." I was like, "Well, how often did you change it?"
They charged me, they charged me $290 to do a coil cleaning, and we would do the same thing. It came out of our security deposit. So there's an example of a real estate investor air filter.
Go ahead. On pets, we're usually pet friendly, but we have about $300. Our standard is $300 per pet, whether it's a dog or a cat or a bird or whatever. Just to, again, and that's a refundable security deposit. It's not a pet fee. It's not any of that kind of stuff. It makes the tenants a bit more comfortable, as well as making sure that our clients, the investor, his liability is limited.
So refundable pet policy and
No pet rent. Again, we try to make our fees going out towards the owners, which we only have the 3 fees really, and then our policies going out towards the tenants as friendly as possible. We want the tenants to stay. The biggest killers of investor money is turnover and vacancy, right? Turnover costs and vacancy. So we don't want it to turn over. So we try to get people in and keep them in and get them to love us. We want our investors to love us, and we want our customers to love us. So. Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
We've had a lot of people that have not invested with me yet. I just had a guy who owns a property in Duncanville, South Dallas. I looked it up on Zillow. It's a great house. It was built in 2011. He's just like, my management company right now is just not, every month I have some kind of maintenance. I'm like, in a 2011 built home? It doesn't make sense, right? I'm like, are they pushing anything back on the tenant? You know, tenant's kid breaks something, tenant broke something. He's like, no, never. I'm just always, he said, the tenant came home one day and the lamp, just the dome light fixture was hanging from the ceiling. Come on. You know what I mean? And he's paying for that. We don't do that stuff. We're pushing everything. If it's clearly tenant-induced damage, they're paying for it. It's not our owner's fault. Okay?
And I also, again, have that policy with my maintenance crews and my vendors, whether they be plumbers, HVAC, or handymen, that if they go out, the first thing they're looking at is this tenant abuse or is this tenant neglect? They're not going to talk to the tenant about that, but they're going to report it back to me so that I can make appropriate discussions. Any other PM?
Thank you all for coming to the session. And yeah, we have a booth out there if you want any other information. Marcus is one of my investment coordinators. You can speak with him. I think I have another one that just showed up, Sarah, that'll be out at the booth. Jay Ritter is very knowledgeable as well. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.